Hello, welcome for those who watching to episode 5 of our Ars Magica Sons of Voluntas saga. The year is now 1193, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, we're now seen in the Covenant of Voluntas in the north of England, where a group of Hermetic apprentices are continuing their training. Or rather, not right now, because they've finished a hard day's work and they're currently have an evening to relax and catch up with each other. So you're probably making your way over to try and find some dinner in the kitchens and settle down. It's been a reasonable year, I think, weather-wise. Everything's gone well after Covenant. You can see Ultred, who is just coming off shift. He's been on guard duty today. Like he's just finishing his shift now and also coming over for dinner. Get his that up. There we are. Young masters. Good to see you again. Your masters keeping you busy.
Well, yes. I haven't seen you before, but I've heard much about you from the fellow apprentices here.
Haven't you?
Nice to see you again.
Well, weren't we together? Was it 4 years ago now?
Quite a while. I've been very busy with my master.
Yes. Well, I'm sure you've. I see you all around here now, but yeah, I noticed you'd be kept in a lot. Your master keeping you hard at work.
Well, yes, he has. I've been studying hard, trying to gain new fields of study, and it's quite fascinating, really.
Well, good to see you out and about for once. So Ultron is sorts himself out with drinks. So I assume there's you're getting the sort of arranging supper. You'll see Lucretia, the Jewish girl, has been helping out the kitchen. She helps get you a potterage, so a bowl of mixed stew, effectively, all for your supper. When she goes back to work, gives a smile to Gareth. Happy to see him.
Gives a slight wave, he's not going to make a scene or anything, but hello.
Oh, is it summer at the moment, Nath, or winter?
What should we say this time? We'll go for early autumn.
Okay.
Yay!
So,
yeah, Caleb is looking especially tired at the moment. So he's quite quiet, but is enjoying his dinner. It's
food is important.
Studying Regio gives me a headache.
what's that then, young master?
Part of the magical arts Matthias is trying to teach me. It is about incredibly strict control, which is surprisingly more taxing on me than I anticipated. But it's a case of pushing through it and mastering it.
Yes, I find Rigo can take a lot of concentration. That can cause a lot of headaches.
Yeah, it's more. Most of the magics Matthias has taught me previously, they're either momentary or they last until sun. I don't have to maintain them myself. Concentration. So yes, it's definitely different. But like I said, it is necessary. It means that the next couple of years I will be able to master an Aegis ritual. So that's important.
I've been learning a little bit of everything, it feels like. I've had the most luck with Creo, Muto, Rigo, a little bit with Intellego. Can't quite get the hang of Perdo.
Ultra perks off when you mentioned it because I've heard that word. That's the big party we have midwinter, isn't it?
Yes. Yes.
where we the man go out and beat the bounds. Of the Covenant.
That's it entirely, Ultra.
That's the one.
If we are going to ever complete our studies and travel abroad, we need to be able to do that ourselves as well. So that is what I'm studying towards.
Well, so I just put my hands together and fidget a little. Before I start to speak, we're trying to plan a coven, right? I've heard it from.
Yeah, your master's kept you fairly well locked up in the lab, but it's something we've been chatting about on and off now. Caleb looks at Herman and Gareth for 2 years, maybe. I think we started.
I think about 2 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while.
I've given up on convincing them to go for Norway, unfortunately. If we can actually arrange to send some apprentices that way, though, I could be easily persuaded to put my efforts into Scotland.
I certainly think it's a good goal for an early covenant. If we have a goal, at least we know where our direction is from the get-go. The idea of having to actually quickly learn enough fundamentals to take on an apprentice myself seems bizarre at the moment, but it's certainly a necessity. I'm Matthias's third apprentice.
Well, it seems apprentices can be taken fairly early.
It depends. Like you said, you've been learning a little of everything. That makes it better. Those of us that are less broad, we still have a lot of gaps to fill before we can teach others.
Have you met any of Matthias's others?
Yes, I've met my Sora, my older sister. She sails with the Northern Winds across the North Sea. Obviously, I met her twice when she's come back to port in York. So,
Well, congratulations.
Thank you, Arminius.
Wait, I was
sorry,
focusing on my meal.
I haven't had the chance.
Well, hold on. Go ahead.
Arminius, say again.
I'm sorry, I haven't seen my family, so I think. Well, I'm quite happy that you are able to.
She's my hermetic sister, but yes.
What are we congratulating you for? I was focusing on my soup.
I'm not sure either. I think Arminius thought that I'd seen my blood family, which seems important to him.
Haven't talked to mine in 10 years now. Hope they're getting on all right.
I have letters from my father most years, as he is only in York. But not that we are certainly more acquaintances now than family, but it's useful to have contacts from a master scribe still. Uhtred, any interesting gossip amongst the men at arms recently?
Ooh. I don't think so. I think it's been pretty quiet. There was someone was just about the king. That was it. Yeah, the king, poor King Richard. They say he's been captured.
Oh, that can't be good.
By some emperor.
Some emperor?
Yeah, not by the Saracens, by an emperor.
Bit of an odd thing.
What was his name? Emperor Henry, I think.
Emperor of what?
I don't know. I don't know that part of the world enough. I'm sure Talbot must be in anguish. Maybe that's where he's gone. You know, wouldn't surprise me if he's rushed off to try and save the king.
He's more likely being trained by his parents, but never know.
Yeah, the lads were saying that King John's rebelled. So as it happened. So I don't know, all a bit of mess down south.
Oh, I'm glad the Covenant's further north. I must admit. I wonder. Again, Talbot's visited some of the Covenants in the south of the lands, but I don't know if there are any. Obviously, there's Scholar Pagaranus, that is near to London, to Windsor. But yeah, I wonder what fallout that's having on them. Oh well, not our problem.
I imagine if the chaos continues, we might see some of it shake off up here. But
So Prince John has now claimed kingship. That's
well, I'm not quite sure. King John, he was quite popular, I think. But I don't know. There was something. Was it a bit old news about the Archbishop of York, Joffrey? Yeah, someone tried to arrest him.
the Archbishop.
All went a bit Thomas and Beckett, shall we say?
Huh.
Yeah, might mess with what I hear, but anyway.
I must admit, I don't miss York as much these days. These past few years, ever since that riot, I've kind of lost my taste for the city.
I didn't have much taste for it to begin with. It's nice to be able to get supplies there, but too much risk.
Yeah.
Plus, working with the Aura of a Dominion.
Yeah, that is always a struggle. I don't know. I haven't learnt enough spells that I can cast without having to rely on spontaneous magic to give me any sort of decent functionality within the Dominion.
Yeah, same.
I apologize. Did the Archbishop actually get arrested, or did he escape? Whoever it was.
Let me think what I heard. Yeah, Joffrey was a fellow's name. Anyway, they say. What did I hear? Oh, that was it. Yeah. So apparently, when Witcher was off for crusade, he sent back someone named Walter to take charge, and they all had a bit of falling out, and then he tried to arrest Joffrey of York. And at that point, everyone thought it was going to be all Thomas and Beckett on him, so William got kicked out of the country.
Blimey.
Okay.
Politics of kings and priests. Ugh. No, thank you.
I know. I might be hearing it wrong. Right. Okay. There's a sudden shout from the guard on duty at the gate. Alarm! Alarm!
Oh, great.
I look up
I just,
at everyone else.
I just, the head just limps slightly, still having half my food there, and then I push my scrawny self up and go towards the door.
Yeah, same.
Right. Well, you can make your way up to the battlements. Not that that's a bit of a grandiose term. There is an elderly figure standing outside the gates of the Covenant. He just appeared, my lord, out of nowhere.
I stay in the
No, I'm just kidding. I think they're used to seeing red caps.
Yeah, I don't think it's a.
It's not anyone wearing a red cap.
Okay.
So that looks like a particular figure we played in our our one-off game.
How would we know?
I just shout. I assume someone's gone to reach the masters.
Yeah.
I turn to the girl. I assume someone's gone to alert the masters.
Ultrid says, "I'll get right on it." And heads off. The old figure looks up at you. Leader of staff looks up at you. Sizes you up. Salve. I request the hospitality of the Covenant of Voluntas.
I look at the others. I'm not sure if we are allowed to do
No, we're not. We await the Magi of Voluntas to grant you that request. They will be here shortly. Give him a respectful nod. And wait.
I'm back. Sorry.
I'm sure Corvus will be here swiftly.
Yeah.
What did I miss? I know there's a dude at the gate.
Yeah, that's basically, he's greeted us as a Magus, requested hospitality. I've said that we are waiting the Magi Voluntas to accept or reject his request, so we're just waiting for a master to come down at this point.
Okay. Yeah, there's a brief delay, and then Corvus does indeed fly over, purchase some battlements.
Silly Bjorn Air.
That's them over. Solway Sodalis. I welcome to our covenant, honoured comrade. I do open the gates for the old fellow.
I go up to start help opening up the gates.
Aren't you a cripple?
I'm a cripple
counts.
with my leg, not with my arms.
Yeah, okay.
And worst case scenario, I can just tell the other guys to do it.
What's your strength?
Let me check.
-3.
-3. Yeah, I am basically a cripple.
You mostly get it. You mostly get in the way while it works. I mean, the gates aren't particularly closed because it's a normal day, so they open the gates up. Corvus turns to you. This will be an old friend of Julia, who I'm aware she was inviting to speak to her. Do make a good impression.
Give him a slight nod.
This would. He continues. This fellow is Maximianus, an elder magus of House Bonissagus. Very, very respected and distinguished.
Looks suitably impressed.
Okay. Maximianus enters.
Go down, not to meet him, but to stand to one side to allow him entry to the Covenant, because I assume Corvus will go down to meet him proper.
Okay, yeah. Corvus flies down, lands on the ground in front of him. Welcome, Sir Darlis. Allow me to lead you to our council chamber. These are the young apprentices of our covenant.
Give a respectful bow to Maximinius.
Okay, he pauses to glance over each of you in turn. The Grogs are quite wary about him. Maximianus clearly does have the gift.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't look. He's short, a bit fat, and doesn't look that impressive physically, but you get a definite sense of power here. And then Corvus and Maximus go off into the council chamber.
Okay. I will go and get Matthias, so I'm going to go and find my master straight away and tell him this.
Okay. You could do that. Everyone else who stand around, you'll see Julia comes out of her sanctum and goes over straight to the council chamber. shortly after. She's wearing, I think, her usual like dark blue robes with silver embroidery. Was a very stern-looking matriarch. She doesn't stop to make small talk with you. Okay, yeah, you can speak to Matthias. Matthias, well, he only knew what he'd already told you
Yes.
on the matter.
Master, there is an honoured guest has just arrived, Maximinius of Bonasagus. Master Corvus is leading him to the council chambers as we speak.
Thank you. I'll go and attend upon them. No, I'm not surprised if Julia wants a private conference with him.
Give him a nod. If he doesn't give me any orders, I will.
Yeah. No, he doesn't have anything particular to order you.
No. Okay.
Okay.
I'll probably mutter that I will go return to my dinner and my supper.
Okay.
So that's where I will go.
I'm going to actually listen into the conversation if I can with the new mage and.
Okay, so they've got to the main council chamber. What are you actually trying to do?
Just stand outside the door. I'm not going to lean in, but I like to. I'm curious, and I'm going to see if I can hear anything through the door. If I can't, it's probably because they cast a spell or just being quiet. I'm not going to push any farther.
Okay. I mean, I guess at least the other apprentices are going to notice you hang around the door. I guess. Does anyone else want to do anything in relation to that?
I'm going back to my supper, basically.
Yep.
Okay. Go on, have a perception and
awareness.
Yeah, sure. Go have a roll. See what bit you can ever hear.
Dan?
Yep.
Nathan's talking to you.
Sorry. Oh, I thought he was. I'm sorry. What did you say again?
Have a roll, perception and awareness.
Roll perception and awareness. Great.
Yeah. Have you got the website for the dice roller?
I do not. Could you send me a link quickly?
Yep. 2 secs.
I put it in the main.
Okay. Yeah, Lee's put it in the main chat, and then the commands are #D10 plus your modifiers.
And you might want the command to set your name as well. But
yeah. Well, let's try this. It's 1d10 plus my modifiers, which are.
Or I just do #1d10 and add it myself. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see if I remember how to do this. Check.
Yep, you're Arminius.
Okay, so /1d10.
Hash. It's hash in this one.
Hash. Okay.
7.
I got a 7. It's not that bad.
Initially, it sounds like they're speaking in Latin. They're discussing. Initially, sounds like they're some greetings, pleasantries. You get the sense these people are old friends from the way they're talking to each other. And they then start to talk and discuss like tribunal politics, Stonehenge tribunal issues. There's much discussion about a tribunal and a grand tribunal coming up. You're not hearing all of it. And you get the sense after you've been there for 10 minutes, you might want to think about moving on, otherwise it's going to start to look very, very blatant.
Yeah, I will start leaving now.
Okay.
No, I don't want to be caught listening in.
Sure. Okay. Ooh. So this is back to Uhtred. Oh, do you know that fellow, young sirs?
We'd never met him before, but supposedly he's an old friend of Lady Juliet's. So, and a powerful magus.
Got through the gates and he just appeared.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Well, did he do that?
We well beyond our abilities, but for a magus of his reputation, well within it.
I do hope he stays around and we get to maybe speak with him.
I would like to speak to him, yes, but it's also Caleb seems wary.
Yeah.
So-
Harriman says that I've not really spoken to mages outside the Coven much, and if he's being older, he must know all types of things.
Yeah, well, he's a Bonasagus as well, so I imagine he's particularly well versed in a broad selection of the arts. That's certain. But I imagine he's here to talk about the Grand Tribunal, because that's only next year. So Matthias has been telling me about it. You know, it's the most important political event in the Order. Only happens once every 33 years. So I guess they're here to discuss that.
I'm assuming we won't be involved in that, being still apprentices.
I couldn't imagine us being involved.
You
As
won't.
far as Matthias has explained it to me, each tribunal sends 3 representatives to Dunmer in the Rhine, and each of those 3. So then, a collection of elder magi then hear issues at Grand Tribunal, make rulings, make laws, any number of things.
That's a lot of power in one area.
In Dunmer, anyway, it's the greatest covenant in the Order, supposedly. My grandparents is there. I've never been there myself. I never met Matthias's master, but that's where he dwells.
So you said 3 per tribunal goes there.
Yes.
Aren't there political people? People in this tribunal don't like each other. A lot of them. And then,
Yeah. So I'm not certain. I got but I think the Stonehenge Tribunal will have a meeting either the remainder of this year or prior to next summer, where they will vote on which 3 members to send. And then the Grand Tribunal is generally in the summer, every 33 years, because obviously some have to travel quite far, and not everybody can teleport themselves across continents.
Yeah.
So, yeah, impressive. A lot of political power, a lot of magical power. Very impressive. But
Okay, so we'll move the scene on then. So you have dinner and talk what's happened. You get told the next day that Master Maximianus has agreed to meet with all the apprentices here to give you a lecture on magical theory.
oh wow!
Oh,
So
I just broke up here.
we'll do a scene
Sounds very
cut
interesting.
to they'll use the council chamber for it. So you'll get so you do not place you get allowed into very often to attend, and Maximianus is there. So I think he looks at his physically in his 60s, so he's probably a lot older than that. I say wearing robes that actually fit terribly well. Does lean on the staff. The other sense he does sometimes actually lean on it. It's not just for show.
So then, are you still here, by the way? You've just been quiet for a while.
I'm here.
Okay.
I've been looking over spells. I'm going to take a spell year this year.
So this is the latest crop of apprentices I see. Please do introduce yourselves.
Caleb will give a respectful nod. Caleb, apprentice of Matthias of House Flambeau. And again, a respectful nod when he ends that statement.
How is old Matthias?
He as well, Master. He as well.
Good. Right, and who else do we have?
I look at
I
the
am.
others.
sorry. You can go first.
No. I was actually I'm trying to hint at you to go.
Okay. I am Herman of House Marinita. Herman the Fleming. And my parent is... How do you say her name, Nathan?
Say it however you want to, that's correct.
Okay.
He looks like he's thinking for a moment. Yes. Very good, very good. Can't say I know your parents very well. But anyway, who else do we have?
Go ahead.
I take a short bow and then speak. I am Arminius. My parents is Desiderius of Verditius.
Interesting fellow. How is he?
Oh, he is quite well. His experiments are doing quite wonderfully. If I think anyway.
I do. I can't say I know him personally, but I have been following some of his researches. Most interesting.
If slightly morbid, yes.
And yes, are you?
Caleb will nudge Gareth. So, Len.
Gareth is asleep.
Sorry, can you hear us?
Oh, he's got mic trouble. Hold on.
Oh, very good, very good. Right, anyway, where were we? So, yes, Julia's an old friend of mine, so that's why I'm here, but as I say, she thought I might like to give it to help lecture some of you, since there's no Bonasagas in this covenant, about the theories of magic and see how well your masters have taught you.
That's very generous of you.
I'd like to see how the young generation are getting on.
Okay, there we go.
Yep, we can hear you.
Now,
Okay.
no, I'm assuming you're all a reasonable way through your apprenticeships, aren't you now? So, you all understand about the four great realms?
Just give a nod.
Good.
I nod.
And how do you think they're interrelated?
That's
I just stay quite. I'm a little hesitant looking at the
Caleb
others.
will sort of arch his hands together and say, Master, that's a difficult and open-ended question, isn't it?
It is, yes.
The theory, the form of Vim is still, it's still being developed now by you and your Sadalas. I know historically it used to be 4 separate arts, I believe. So, though we continue to understand and we've somewhat brought them together within a form of magic, they still conflict with one another. If you excuse a flambeau's simplistic language. And only the Dominion rules over all 3. The rest are in conflict with one another and beneath it.
Interesting. Would you all agree with your friend's statements?
He seems to know more than I about the subject, definitely.
That is more or less what I believe.
There are 2 main schools of thought on the matter. The first is stems from the Platonic view of creation, which is the divine realm is the source of all light and being. The magical realm is the first emanation of that light, pure light emitted from the divine. The other realms, however, the fairy and the infernal realms, they arise from the interaction of that divine light with sinful human beings. The fairy then is the reflection of this light from the minds and souls of humankind, whereas the infernal realm is the shadow cast by humanity. Thus it is then that the fairy realm makes real with stories and dreams, the reflections of humankind, whereas the infernal makes all of humanity's flaws concrete, its darker shadow. Are you all following this?
Yes, that seems
I'm not
reasonable.
vigorously.
So would you agree with this supposition then that the magic realm is the first emanation of the divine realm? That it is more pure, more holy than the realm of fairy and infernal?
I wouldn't go so far as that, Master. I do agree that the magic realm is first, then that fits with the nature of the inhabitants of the magical realm being eternal and unchanging. A gift from being the First Nation, but to call it holy, it
would be beyond our state.
Well, that takes into the topic of yes. You see why this is a point of contention between the relationship between magic and the divine. You've experienced the divine realm, haven't you? You've cast magic in a Dominion aura.
Yes, Master.
Yes, Master.
And how was that? And how did you find that?
Challenging.
Now, can you surmise anything from that fact?
It's
The divine realm smothers the magical realm. It's stronger.
But it could be that you're trying to use magic against itself. That's why it fails. If it is the First Nation, as Master Maximilian says, and it is in itself essentially divine light, and as is the Dominion aura, the two may be conflicting. It could be seen as that.
Or perhaps it's simply you don't see the flame of a candle in the light of the sun.
That's very elegant, Arminius, for you.
Yeah, back to ask you an impressed nod at that. Perhaps I will. We'll move on then. I will outline there is the second school of thought on this matter, the Aristotelian view. This holds that the divine is actually pure actuality, ultimate existence. The magic realm, then, is the process of coming into existence, that which is coming into be but not yet is. Thus, magic is always getting closer to the divine, but whilst never actually reaching it. The fairy realm is the actualization of the imagination of human beings, whereas the infernal is the process of going out of existence. Thus it is that demons always think to tear down and destroy things, for that is their nature, for things to be unmade. So you can see there is this cycle of coming into existence, and then leaving existence. Now, how does that school of thought sound to you, apprentices?
I believe that. Sorry, go ahead.
No, please go first. I can hold my thoughts for later.
Damn it! I'm stuck down. No, I'm just kidding. Gareth could actually speak up at that point and say, could it not also be possible that all four of these auras, so to speak, Dominion, Magic, Fey, and Infernal, are each themselves a facet of the same reality?
Different types of actions rather than separate forms of action?
They all have power over each other in some way or another. If you attempt to cast our magic within the sphere of any of the others, you could have difficulties. Anything that goes against that facet of reality is hindered.
Would that even apply in the opposite, as that would be if they're all equal? Then the opposite would also be true. If you would cast Dominion inside a realm of magic, wouldn't that be then hindered if your theory is correct?
It would.
So, well, to be honest, I don't know if dominions would be hindered. I don't think so, but I simply don't know.
No, the divine powers are not hindered by the presence of auras aligned to the other realms.
So then I would suppose that would not be possible.
But
If
so
they're equal, they should be affected equally. Correct?
what you are describing, young Gareth, is not actually so far removed from what some theologians have think on this matter. They would see the divine as the supernatural realm, as they would call it, the mundane as the natural realm, and all three other realms making up the preternatural realm. So rather than seeing all four as the same, they would see three of them as the same. Opinions are then divided whether those three components are actually distinct or not, and whether there's really a difference between, for example, magic and infernal. But we, of course, as learned hermetics, understand those things are different, even if theologians do not.
True.
It does raise some questions of whether, for example, is magic inherently sinful? Or is it incompatible with a spiritual life? Which is a topic debated among theologians, if perhaps the nature of sin does not directly concern us as scholars of the arts. Do any of you have an opinion on such matters? Do you wish to voice?
The theologians think, some theologians think the act of living itself is sinful. So,
Original sin.
Mm-hmm. That is true, but there is a distinction between sins, is there not? That there are petty sins which are distinct from mortal sins.
yeah, I suppose.
And that would still pose the question of whether magic is one or the other.
True, and
there is
with
also
the original sin.
Some may also make a distinction between a person who commits a sin on a particular occasion and someone who lives an inherently sinful lifestyle. You see the difference there?
Yeah, so the idea would be we would be living a sinful lifestyle because we practice magic.
Well, if hermetic magic is sinful, then we would be.
I'm saying according to some theologians.
True.
But I do not want to get sidetracked too much into theology, but since Gareth here advanced such a supposition, I thought I should just explain that.
And I truly do thank you for the enlightenment.
We have a Meronita here, lad. I'm sure. I assume you've been initiated to their mysteries.
Yes.
So, for you, these realms are slightly different, are they not? That do you not have the same difficulties? Well, you can interact with a fairy aura in a way that's different to anyone else here.
Yes, the mysteries allow me to much more easily, act within fairy aura and do things in a different way than many other mega.
Fairy auras do not limit us. In fact, if anything, they could boost our magic if making it a little unpredictable. But in your case, the Meronita, have they not, it seems, found some way to reconcile the two distinct realms?
More or less, compared to fairy aura compared to magic aura, we can treat it very similarly, as opposed to most magi. They get helped by it, but not as much as us.
So, would that fact shed any more insight on this discussion?
Well, I think I subscribe to the first theory that you spoke about.
I would also subscribe to that.
Obviously, my mind could be changed, but I think it makes the most sense with what I know about the auras and the realms.
So, let us suppose, as you advance, that is it possible that the difference between magic and fairy is in fact not an inherent property of the universe, but a flaw in our magical theory, and that it's evidently possible that some people to move to a new theory which has removed that distinction.
A flaw in our logic. Perish the thought.
We'll get to this topic later. No, doubtless there are limits to hermetic magical theory, and some of those, it is some argue, are due to flaws in that theory, which we will hope to overcome.
He's obviously like making light of it. Like, yeah, it's totally possible we could have something wrong.
I mean, there is also the accounts of certain magi who have reconciled magic with the divine. Saint Nereus being the most famous example, as they call him, but there are others.
That's an impressive feat, I will admit that.
Yeah, I believe that the fact that my teacher house has found ways to more easily use fairy magic points towards that the fairy magic and hermetic magic are at least able to be reconciled.
Master Maximinius, wouldn't then an avenue of progress then would first be to unite our understanding of Vim better? So Vim magic can be used, a single spell could be utilized against any of the 4 realms. My master is teaching me the Aegis and the founding theories of that, and obviously that protects against all types of magics. But then he has also taught me Demon's Eternal Oblivion, which only impacts the infernal realms. So it looks like we have moved towards unifying Vim to treat any realm as one, but yet some of our magics still have to treat them separately.
The Aegis is a very particular, unusual spell. Its development was itself a breakthrough in theory. It is based on old rituals of the cult of Mercury. It does not fully conform to Hermetic theory itself. That is why it's able to do what it can do.
But would it then be that could Hermetic theory grow from fully integrating it?
Certainly, that would be possible. But the limitations you describe, you're quite right that the spell to slay a demon would not work on an angel.
No.
Or even a fairy, for that matter. But then fairies are different in that they often come under the other forms. However, we have the Necromancer's Apprentice here. I'm sure you will understand that a spell which affects a living body that's been learnt formulaically, that was different to the same spell doing the same effect on a dead body.
Right, truly, it's I don't fully understand it as yet, but while magic just doesn't register it in the same way, it becomes something different from a person to an object, I think. I'm not sure how to describe it.
Formulaic spells are just that. They are formulaic. They are precise. They are tailored to the situation. It may be that limitation which is causing the limitation to demons that you describe.
Interesting supposition, Master.
It may be something deeper. But even if it was something deeper, you would still have the same problem.
Yes.
If anything, you could see a spell which affects any demon of any kind. That's actually quite broad.
My master has not yet gone into any sort of demonology with me. Demons are demons. I have no more subtle. I don't know any more subtle knowledges than that.
Well, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to take a couple of minutes to talk about yourselves, apprentices. Obviously, I'm too much AFK, but do keep on playing.
Yeah.
Yep.
The elder one needs to relieve his bowels. He doesn't say that in character.
Yeah.
So, that has been fascinating. I went to the unmoved mover theorem and the perfection. I've almost studied a little about the subjects, but
The
which one do you
practical
think is more likely?
I don't know.
I don't put terribly. I don't think I will put very much effort into determining those mysteries, to be quite honest. For practical purposes, I should simply be wary of entering the other auras.
I said,
But if we don't at least attempt to understand them, then how should we advance? It seems like an important touchstone.
Every member of the order can do their best to advance the order in one way or another. Not every mage needs to advance every cause.
it'd be impossible.
I do not plan on being the foremost researcher in Corpus, for example.
Max, to be
I
honest,
suppose that's true.
back into the
My
room.
apologies then.
Right. So, where were we? Yes, realms. The four great realms. Now, so I gather you experienced a range of different auras by the sound of it, and what that felt like.
I believe, other than the one here at the Covenant, I have felt Dominion aura, and that is it.
I believe we lack experience in Infernal Aura, which is probably a good thing.
Yes.
So, now, another question which some scholars like to debate is where these auras emanate from, and what exactly is the nature of an aura. Now, it's believed that naturally the divine aura emanates from heaven, or possibly the throne of God. Though I'd like to think that's more metaphorical than literal. The infernal aura, well, we all know where that emanates from. The aura fairy emanates from Arcadia. Now, what is curious, however, is the speculation: is there then something corresponding for the magic realm? Is there a place, a realm, a source of power from which magic emanates?
I think there would have to be.
Well,
I don't see why it would be different than the others.
We have 4 examples, and 3 of them have a place where it emanates from, so...
Do go on.
I would propose it was at the very least likely. I mean, why would magic be the exception here?
Well, I mean, if you were to subscribe to the opinion that the magic realm is coming into being, he's striving towards the actuality of the divine, then the magic
Then it
realm
might not
would
have
also
the
be
substance
heaven.
in order to be a realm of its own. It might be a realm that's always coming into being, but isn't actually in being or in existence. Sorry for interrupting.
Are you familiar with the Plato's conception of the realm of Platonic forms?
I vaguely, if I remember correctly, it was described to me as such. You have a chair, and in the Platonic idea, there's a cave and it's a hole in the wall with a light. And in that cave, there is the chair rather than a chair, a perfect chair. And that would be the Platonic ideal of a chair that exists in separation of the chair. I don't know the details too much.
In the Platonic forms, perfect, pure things exist, and this world can only contain imperfect reflections. For example, if you draw a circle, as doubtless you will do when you cast certain circle-based spells, you would not appreciate that you cannot actually draw a perfect circle. But it's actually impossible within this flawed world to draw a truly perfect circle. The argument goes that the absolute perfection of a circle with the purest circleness exists in the Platonic realm. If we were to accept such a theory, and if we were to accept that it is truly real, not again a metaphor, then some would say that is what the magic realm is, the platonic realm of form.
So, like, it would be a separate, isolated, perfected world, I guess. Eh.
If the divine light is emanated from heaven, it has then created a perfect entity of each and every creation that it will need in this lower realm, and then those are reflected here through its light. Perhaps.
I have a question regarding the mundane world.
Yes.
Is it the like existent as a lack of having an aura, or is it like a realm itself? Like, is an area with no aura that's a mundane region, right? So, is that just the absence of another realm, or is it a realm in and of itself?
What do you think?
Well, I always thought of it as the weakest of the realms because it can.
So you're therefore advanced the theory that there are in fact 5 realms.
That's how I conceptualize it. I don't know how good my philosophy is.
And a 5th weaker realm. Interesting. Would anyone else care to come in on this?
It's interesting supposition. It's the first time I've ever heard it considered. I'll give Herman a respectful nod.
Yeah, it's just sort of how I conceptualize it. I don't know how sound it is.
Let me also give you an alternative idea. You understand that auras going to be of different strength.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
And yeah, the aura of the divine in a village is less than that in a cathedral.
Yeah.
Suppose that there was. What if I was to suggest to you that perhaps the whole world was covered with one or another? Just in some places it was so weak that you did not discern it.
And would you suggest that is a Dominion aura? That is just.
I'm sure some would like to think so. Some might think that perhaps it became a Dominion aura after the birth of Christ.
Well, I thought it would have been a Dominion aura even before then.
Oh, certainly there were divine auras before then. I mean, obviously there was the Jewish temple for one, no doubt. But there was certainly a great shift happened at that point in time, we believe. Some say magic and fairy were one until that point, and that they split when God manifested the world.
That I have heard before mentioned. I think it was in a book Matthias gave me.
I have not heard of that.
But I am skeptical of that view myself because it seems to me from the old accounts there was a distinction between powers of magic and powers of fairy before that point.
But how easy is it to truly, without using magic yourself, to identify the differences between the two?
Well, how would you know if they would find it? How would you know that them not finding a difference would mean that there are no differences?
Indeed.
Well, it
is hard. It is hard enough to fully understand the world as it is, not to go beyond that to try and understand the world as it was in past times. we spoke earlier of some possibly flaws in Hermetic theory. Perhaps we should. That's a topic I would meant to revisit. Now, as you doubtless know, there are certain fundamental limits in magic, and by extension, limits in our Hermetic magic. So, apprentices, perhaps who here can tell me what one of the limits?
I raised my hand.
Yeah,
The limit of time, as we were discussing, looking back in time.
You go on.
Our magic cannot perceive the past. It cannot alter the past. We can only alter the present to change our future.
Would you all agree with that?
I would say yes. I would say I would agree with that, if tentatively.
Isn't looking into a memory perceiving the past, though?
I was presuming that he's referring more to directly altering it rather than merely seeing it. Though
But
I could be wrong.
Herman raises a good point. Looking at memories is a form of record keeping. Reading books is a form of record keeping. But memory is more like a book. But to actually, we cannot scry into the past.
I honestly never thought of whether I could or couldn't. It never came to mind.
We cannot. If you study magic theory, it is one of the limits of magic.
Huh.
Indeed, it is to both to scry the past or the future, and we cannot change the future without making change in the present, and say we cannot change the past. Or indeed, there is another small extra compared to that you missed, which is we cannot alter the passage of time itself. Now, most scholars think that this limit derives fundamentally from a higher limit, the limit of the divine, which is that magic cannot affect the divine itself, and that God has set this down as a fundamental nature of creation, and that therefore it would not be a flaw in our theory because it is inherent in the defined properties of magic.
I do recall one other.
Yes.
The limit of the celestial spheres, I believe, is what it's called. We cannot affect anything beyond the moon, or the moon itself.
You're quite right. Magic cannot affect the lunar sphere on which the moon orbits, or anything beyond it. Again, most people think that that's derived from the power of the divine. That the stars and the other planets on their revelations about Earth. Naturally, this particular limit is not one many people think are concerned with.
No, obviously, but that's what I could
But no, you are quite right. It is certainly a limit. Again, it is that limit is generally held to not be a flaw in our magic because it comes from that is set down by God.
It's also a limit of the soul. Oh, sorry.
As a flaw, I would say like the limit of this, the limitations of each vis having its own unique type, which is limited in function to a specific type of magic.
You're quite right. But now that is an example of a flaw which is held to not result from the divine, but from the limit of essential nature. How can I put? What is the best way to explain this? This takes us back to Plato's realm of forms. Things have an essential nature. Magic can change that nature. That can change the thing, but cannot change the nature. So, this is why, for example, if you use the arts of Muto to transform something, when your magic expires, the thing changes back to its essential nature. Is this making sense to you all?
Yes, we've encountered the limit of essential natures in some of our complicated situations that have arisen in recent years. Change in memories, for example. They may fade naturally, but they do not twist and change naturally, so they revert.
It is not always clear what something's essential nature is. For example, some people are essentially blind in their essential nature. Some people are merely being blinded by chance. This becomes an issue if you're trying to heal that blindness. The Bjorn have some interesting theories about this. He produces he conjures a cone of wood, holds you up to a candle. You see how the cone casts on the wall the image of a triangle in the shadow.
Yeah.
But that is not its true shape. It has an essential nature of a cone, but we see a triangle. Is this making sense to you?
I can follow the example, yes.
So you can see that it now, suppose you were only able to perceive the triangle. Now observe, suppose he takes the cone, turns it, point on to the candle. Its shadow is now that of a circle.
They're two forms, both natural, both essential.
If you were only able to observe the shadow, you would say it has changed. Clearly, it has shapeshifted, literally. But the cone has remained unchanged. And this is why the cone is the symbol of House Bjorna. For they cast the shadow of a person, the shadow of an animal upon the world. Both are their essential nature. It is a strange anomaly in the theory that normally things seem to only have a single essential nature. In the case of the Bjorna, they have two. Or perhaps one, depending how you want to look at it.
Caleb will give a slight chuckle for the pun.
Okay, but some of you are being quiet. Who else? You speak up. Perhaps you could tell me of the limits of magic you've learned about.
Who's he pointing to? Just all of us?
Anyone who hasn't been being quiet.
Okay, yeah, I'll say the limit of a soul is one. You can't create something with a soul.
Okay. You are right that there's a limit. There is more to it than that, however. You are right that hermetic magic cannot create an immortal soul. And it follows from that we cannot create life or restore the dead to life. Now,
because that's the domain of the divine, right?
Most people would think so, yes. Though some like to think that our inability to raise the dead is a flaw in theory. Looks Arminius. What would you say to that?
Dan?
No? Nothing?
It's there.
We can hear you.
What would you say to that? Should magic be able to raise the dead?
I would say yes if the divine does not interfere, if I understand correctly. So long as the soul is still there, I would presume it's possible, maybe?
Interesting. You
It
say
can heal injuries. So if you just heal the injury that had the body die and the soul is still there, maybe?
Would anyone want to respond to that?
As far as usual evidence, as soon as the body dies, the soul leaves the body. I've never studied necromancy. I've never heard that it lingers.
Well, I don't think it does. It's more of a hypothetical. Like, if the divine did not interfere and the soul wasn't whisked away, would it be possible rather than a true?
That's getting more into the realm of almost mentum magic, where you can talk to the corpus or mentum, both, where you can talk to the recently dead, but they have not been given a Christian burial. There is that, is there not?
There are a few things you are raising there. Yes, it is possible to use corpus with a fresh corpse to get it to speak and answer questions. That is, however, because this corpus, that is not accessing the spirit or soul of the person. It is simply animating enough to speak and haven't accessed its own brain. That's why it only works on a fresh corpse before the brain is decayed. Now, with mentum, it is possible to conjure or summon up a ghost and interrogate it, as Havtrim are famous for doing. However, there is an important distinction between a spirit manifesting a ghost and an immortal soul.
Yes. Matthias always taught me that ghosts are more like echoes of a person, nothing to do with their soul.
That is one way to look at it. I'm not sure I would fully agree. I would suggest that we as living people, we have 3 different spiritual components. We can think of these as a vegetable, animal, and human. The vegetable part is the basic functions of being alive. All living things have that. Animals have it. Plants have it even. We do not normally concern ourselves with it. It is simply the functions of being alive rather than dead. The way that people sweat, for example. More significantly, we have the animal spirit. You know how I call it, spirit. That governs over our base instincts, our drives. That is what controls an animal's behavior. We as humans, we still have that. As humans, however, we also have a higher part, a soul, that allows us to have a complicated discussion like this, to comprehend the nature of God, to carry out mathematics. They're all those higher mental functions which animals are incapable of. So when we die, the soul goes on to its appointed place, to which we entrust in God. Our spirit, however, goes its own way and is available potentially to be summoned by a necromancer.
I mean, the animal spirit you're referring to when you say
Yes.
spirits. But surely then it would be an animalistic creature that a necromancer would summon, all instinct and base desires. It wouldn't have the higher functions, because even ghosts can hold a conversation.
It would. It is still been a part of us our entire lives. It is still has all of our lived experience. It may not, of course, fully understand the distinction itself, in the same way that fairies do not understand their own nature. But you're right. But would it not be fair to say, whilst perhaps not animalistic, a lot of ghosts, they engage in repetitive behaviour, do they not?
Yeah, that is true of what I've seen.
It might be fair to say that ghosts often lack a higher conscious awareness. I have not put it to the test whether a ghost is able to contemplate the nature of God or perform mathematics. That would seem to be beyond a great many ghosts. But they, as you say, they are but echoes.
Yeah, Caleb is nodding.
Now, Now, it is interesting, however, that any random peasant in the fields with assistance is able to create human life. Yet that is something which is beyond the feat of any magic we possess.
Mm-hmm.
Animals can be created because they have no soul, merely a spirit. There are some who believe they can create fairies, though I think our Maronita friends would like to claim they are merely summoned rather than created. And how does one tell the difference? This brings us back to the nature of demons. I mean, as you said yourself, Apprentice, there are spells to slay demons. Are there not?
Yes, of course.
Therefore, does it follow then that demons have a nature which is lower than that of souls, since we cannot affect souls?
Yeah.
Do you think that if there was a demon here and you were to cast a spell and slay it, do you think it would be truly slain?
No. I may drive it from this earth, but I don't think it would be truly slain.
Again, this is a question which is very hard to conclusively answer, especially with the nature of the infernal. Which brings us on to that other limit of the infernal.
We cannot perceive it truly.
Yes. And any attempts to perceive it can be manipulated as they will. Can anyone see why this is particularly problematic?
For all intents and purposes, we are blind to them. If we look only through magic.
And if you were to encounter something which you thought was a fairy, and you were to use your arts to try to seek to determine that, and your arts were to tell you, yes, it was a fairy,
then magics would be useless against it, as we must tailor them to the specific realm. And a cunning demon may pretend to be even impacted by our arts, when in fact they wouldn't be.
Indeed. Because a demon might manifest, and you might seek to think it's a person and try to use your corpus arts upon it, and the demon could permit you to think it worked.
A defeated foe that isn't actually defeated is perhaps the most dangerous of all when you turn your back to it.
So, suppose you were to encounter a powerful being. Suppose a being that claimed to be one of the pagan gods. How could you be certain it was not a demon?
To put it to, unfortunately, fall to stereotype, to simply try to attack it as if it was a demon and see if the creature recoiled from it. Crude, but
you're quite right. That is one of the few ways to test is to seek to slay it on the assumption it's a demon. However, that would only tell you it is sufficiently weak for your power spell to affect it. If it was a very powerful demon, your spell would still fail.
It would, and my magic certainly wouldn't have any means of attesting what it was.
Now, heretics would therefore take this argument to the next extension, that how does one distinguish between Auriel, the angel of death, and a demon? How does one distinguish between God and a very, very powerful demon?
Caleb will smirk at that and just shake his head. It's just like, yeah.
Oh, I wish Talbot was here to hear that.
Now that would be interesting. I agree.
You speak of young Talbot. Yes, I've heard about the fellow.
I think he would have some words about that.
Bit of a zealot, huh? That's one, huh?
Well, yes, nonetheless, such suggestions are, well, heresy if they're made too loudly. But I simply wish to. But I think I've made the point clear about the Infernal and the difficulties this presents. You need to be careful whenever you use any kind of scrying, because you don't know whether the results you receive are from because you inadvertently scryed a demon. Now, you mentioned Talbot. I gather he's got what's they call it? Vera Fidelis. A sort of a kind of faith that generates a resistance to magic.
I don't know about that.
I've never tried to cast any magic on him.
No.
To witness it.
No, it's very rare, but it does certainly notable. Yeah, Julia mentioned it to me. So this is another interesting limit, the limit of true feeling. That there are certain emotions which are sufficiently true and pure and strong that they become a fundamental limit of magic. Faith is one. Love is another. That the power of true love can, in some cases, interfere with the workings of magic. Again, this is not normally the case. A lover's mind can easily be bent normally. Again, this brings us back again to the idea of platonic forms. Is it possible that there is what is manifest here is something closer to true love or true faith in the platonic sense of the word?
And as a result of the closeness, it can't be changed because it's perfect. I remember someone saying that if something's perfect, it can't touch anything else, because if it touches something, it is touched and changed and is then less perfect.
That'd be a very fragile existence then.
I don't know if I agree with it. It's the idea of that if something is perfect and it touches something that is not, traces are applied to both, with the less perfect thing becoming more perfect, and the perfect thing, now having changed, is no longer perfect.
Interesting though. Remember when you say change, what was said earlier about the limit of essential nature? A thing can be changed, but its essential nature cannot.
So you'd mar it only temporarily at best.
That is a fascinating school of thought, though.
Now, let's just take a brief digression. I gather certainly some of you, look at Gareth, you've studied some of the elemental forms, haven't you?
RM and Aquam in my case.
Good. Anyone else study the elements?
I know a little, Ignem.
I keep meaning to study Terram.
I have not yet touched the elements.
Now,
at least the traditional ones.
Now, let us. Now, what is an interesting part of Hermetic theory is where material appears to fall under more than one. For example, I don't know if you've heard of this material lava, which is someone's found in certain parts of the world, like Pompeii, molten rock, essentially. Which, as a rock, should come under the form of terram, but being liquid, that would supply it come under akram, and being hot, it should come under ignem. Similarly, ice, which I'm hoping you're familiar with, that is essentially water, so should come under aquam. But because it's solid, that would imply it should be terram, and because it's cold, that should imply it should be ignem. Do you see why these things, some would say, do not perfectly fit into the theory of Bolosargus?
Yes.
Now, the simple act of creation or destruction could generally be done with a single art. In the case of ice, creo-aquam effect. I don't know if you ever, Gareth, have you ever tried to create ice?
No, not yet.
But to affect these things, other aspects can require other arts. So if you wanted to create make ice warm, that would be creo-ignem for warmth. So creo-aquam combined with the art of ignem would allow the creation of warm ice. Solid, but still warm.
Would it not just begin melting afterwards?
No, because it has been conjured as warm ice. You're right that if you were to conjure warmth, that would indeed melt ice. But if you were to conjure warm ice, then that would exist.
Interesting.
Now, to give you another example, mist is a kind of air, therefore comes under auram. But its dampness also means it comes under aquam. So weather effects are generally auram because they're all phenomena of air. But if you were to conjure hailstone in your hand, that would be aquam with elements of ignem and terram. As it is water, it is cold, and it is solid. Well, anyway, I hope this has given you something to think about, apprentices. Do you have any more questions on this before we move on?
Caleb will shake his head.
Good. Right, well, as I hope you've all learned something. Actually, so I miss having an apprentice myself. Right. Now, perhaps a little more applied exercise would be in order. Have your masters taught you about Certamen?
Not a great deal, no.
Well, there's all sorts of legal things which I'll leave it to someone else better equipped to explain. But essentially, Certamen is a safe way for us to fight duels in a non-harmful fashion. It requires the selection of one form and one technique. By tradition, the aggressor chooses the technique and the defender chooses the form. But each side gets one veto. And once the appropriate ritual is conducted, I say ritual, it's not really a ritual, but you get the idea. Phantasms manifest to represent the arts to fight out the technique. It is an important skill to bear in mind. After all, it can be used politically against you if you're not confident in it. Would any of you have the courage to perhaps we should run an exhibition match between the two of you.
Tumbleweed.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking to someone who actually knew how to throw a spell in combat.
Oh, you don't need to learn spells. It's just merely about master of the arts.
I don't think I'm that advanced.
I suppose I can try it if someone else is willing.
Caleb has absolutely no interest in Kataman, so he's.
Gareth will save his interest in Kurtaman for when he can throw lightning bolts.
Well, if Caleb will do it, if everybody else is standing quiet, he'll push himself up from the desk where he is and said,
Gareth is going to go take his soup bowl to the kitchen real quick. Promise he'll be right back.
So, Herman and Caleb, isn't it? Excellent. Well volunteered. Right. Well, Herman, you declared first, so perhaps you should choose one of the 5 techniques.
So techniques are like the eye control stuff.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I suppose Muto.
Veto.
Okay, so you should choose a second one.
Okay. Then I suppose either Rigo.
Very well. And Caleb, would you like to choose a form?
Mentum.
Herman, do you wish to veto?
I have a feeling that's the best I'm going to get, so I'll not veto.
Very well. So we have a Satamed with the arts of Rigo and Mentem. So let's give them a space, square off, and he starts talking through the incantations. And we're all quite clear this is just for the love of fighting, for practice. Very well then. Right, let's see. Okay, right. There's an opening roll for initiative. This is a one-off roll, which is your quickness plus your finesse plus a stress dice.
Okay.
So that both of you.
Amazing roll for me at -1.
Well, I should rolled a 10, and if it's a stress dice, that's a 0.
Yes, it's a stress dice.
I rolled a
Yeah, you'll go
What's that?
first.
Caleb's getting warping?
Yeah, from initiative.
Exactly.
Okay. So Herman wins initiative. Right. Okay. So you now make so Herman makes a stress roll to generate an attack total. This is your presence plus technique or form.
Yeah, you get to choose which one you're going to attack with, and then you defend with the other one.
Okay.
Basically, each round. So use one for attack, one for defense, and you choose how you want to do it.
So presence plus one of those forms plus a stress dice.
Okay, so I'm going to use Rigo to attack.
Caleb's rolled in perception plus the forward technique plus a stress dice for defense.
Yep. +7. All right, and I get so base D10, and I will. So you're attacking with Rigo, so I will defend with Mentem.
Yep.
Perception 0, so I just get my +5. So I rolled a 1. That's useful. Multiply it up by 10, so I get 25 on my defense.
That's defense. Okay. So to the square and start doing the hand gestures and incantations. And let's see, what's a good? The Phantasm's Manifest represented Rigo Menten. So this is like a psychic, what would look like a psychic mind battle with great like tendrils of color clashing back and forth. Okay, and Herman gets his first a phantom shaft shoots out towards Caleb, and it gets casually brushed aside.
By a book. A phantasm of a book just sweeps it aside.
Okay, and then if you want to do the same roll the other way,
Yep.
so attack and defense roll. So
my attack
is presence plus the formal technique, whichever one you didn't use, plus stress dice.
is
Defense for Herman is perception plus formal technique, whichever you didn't use, plus a stress dice.
So I rolled a 3, I get +5, so I get 8 in total. You get 9, so you defend.
Yep.
So that's defense as well. So we both defend against each other's attacks.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so first round of passes. Okay. Oh yeah. Maximus looking obviously impressed. Very fine defensive move there. Very good. And okay, so we initial stays the same. So back to Herman to attack.
Yep.
Okay.
And you go first, mate.
Yep.
Again, choose if you want to, which one you want to attack and defend with. Mine are both the same, so it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
My attributes are the same, and my arts are the same.
I'm gonna try and swing with Rigo again.
Okay. Wow, that's a good roll. Yeah, I don't think I can actually beat that. Because this is only +5. 2. Wow. So you have an attack advantage of 14. So you get to roll your intelligence plus your penetration ability plus 14.
Does Rigo specialty in penetration help this?
Yes, if you were using it for attack, yeah, it would.
Yeah. Okay, give me 1 second.
So I'm going to get battered now.
It's intelligence based.
Yeah, intelligence plus your
Are you sure there's a roll here?
Oh no, it isn't a roll. No, yeah, you're right. It's not. Yeah,
Okay.
it's just intelligence, penetration plus your attack advantage.
So 14 plus other stuff.
14, 15, 17, 18 if it's including specialty, but I don't think.
Yeah. So
Okay.
so that's 4 fatigue levels of damage.
Yep, that is. Yeah, that's ow, and that's the combat over because it's the first hit. So yeah, congratulations. How long is that?
Okay, so
To recover.
there's a brief parry as phantom bolts strike each other. The first two are casually brushed aside, but then he actually gets a decisive blow in. Effectively, you're too busy blocking directly, just box you in the head. A good show, apprentices. You all right there? You all right there, Caleb?
Yeah, I'm okay. I was tired before this. Nah.
As I said, it's not a matter of learning spells; it's just a matter of mastering the arts.
I was surprised how easily you knocked aside that first one.
Yeah, then you went full throttle. It seems. You went full out.
Clearly, you got overconfident there, Caleb.
Ugh. Yeah.
But obviously, subject to your master's wishes, I would suggest you do try to get a little practice in now and again. It's good to do it in case some aggressive person does come along and challenge you.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, you live so far away, there's no way they'll ever come visit you.
We are not going to Norway, Gareth.
Well, you might have a disagreement among yourselves you need to resolve.
But I can just walk to the other end of Norway. He's joking.
Yeah. Right. So Caleb is dazed and will take him 60 minutes to get back one level. Then 30, then 10, then 2. So for the next 2 hours, Caleb's exhausted.
I mean, if someone had Creo Corpus, they could help you, couldn't they?
No, they couldn't.
Actually, apprentice, no, they couldn't, because that brings. I didn't cover that one. That brings us back to the limits of magic.
So if you're willing, I can use Rego Corpus to take some of your energy.
This is the limit of energy, which hermetic magic cannot restore from the physical energy.
So you could take all of my energy and I'd fall asleep.
Yeah, Rego magic. I can take energy from other people. We can't create it, as the master says, but we can take it from others.
Most people think this is actually not any inherent limit. This is simply a flaw in Bonasagian theory.
Well, I will happily say I wish it wasn't at the moment.
But you can speculate how there might be some ways where one could functionally get around this in the field, even if it's not as possible to directly overcome it. As you say, it's possible to take energy from another person into oneself.
As your out of character, how very, very dazed is
one more level and you would have knocked me unconscious.
He'll be fine in 2 hours of rest, basically.
Yeah,
Okay.
but if you got 20 or over 20, you would have knocked me unconscious.
But it never causes injury, just because that's the worst thing you could do. So
yeah.
as I said, so yes, the limit of energy. Now, you could suppose you were to create a spell with a range of arcane connection that takes energy from someone. Suppose you were to, I don't know, have a locks of hair from all of your grogs. Can you see that this would functionally overcome this limit, even if it wouldn't actually overcome this limit?
Yes, one could just absorb energy as and when they needed it, as long as they were still capable of casting magic enough to draw it in without losing fatigue at the same time. Otherwise, you would lose it as quickly as you gained it. It would gain no gain.
Which, if this was a formulaic spell, would presumably not be difficult.
I don't know, Master. You're talking about casting magic at arcane connection range. That's not trivial magic, regardless of what it is.
Yes, perhaps that leads us on to the limit of arcane connections. Tell me, so your predecessors, what would be a good arcane connection to a person?
Blood.
What would be a good arcane connection to a person?
Their name?
When you clarify, what do you mean when you say their name?
Their full unbaptized birth name.
The unbaptized name.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, if you're the name that you're baptized with cannot affect you, but if you were the name your parents gave you, it's not the same as the baptized name, can?
That is more of a symbolic arcane connection that, though can empower our magic, can't be used to directly target our magic. I believe.
Yes, it would not. A nickname like that would not clearly identify the person, would it? There are many people with the same name.
Blood.
You are right that what you say, there are difficulties in using baptismal names because of the limit of that they belongs to the realm of the divine.
Yes.
But what of other arcane connections beyond names?
Well, he said blood, and I would agree with you. Him. Hair, a treasured item. If you always use the same walking staff, perhaps if I took the walking staff from you, I could use that as an arcane connection.
Now, Yes. Now, blood and hair, however interesting, they are part of the thing. This is a principle of theory that a part of a thing retains a connection to the original thing. Suppose yes. Suppose I had an apple and I sliced a small piece off it. Would you all agree that this small slice is an arguing connection to this apple?
Would the apple then be part of the tree that it came from?
Good point. What do you think?
Well, if you continue that logic, I would imagine that a child of the man you're trying to do the connection to, or the woman, would also work. After all, they were at one point part of them, or at least given life by them.
Under Hermetic theory, a child is not a connection to their parents. They are their own in essential nature. They are their own unique thing. As I understand it, under the fairy hermetic magic of the Meronita, there is a connection there, and there are spells that target down bloodlines.
Yes, there are.
So, could you affect a tree with its apple?
This brings on to what I was going to say. The slice of the apple is a connection to the apple. However, suppose instead I was to cut an apple in half.
Which one would be the whole apple?
Neither is a connection to the other because they are separate things. The part connects to the whole. So does the apple connect to the tree? I would say quite possibly not, because the apple is a separate essential thing in its own right. If you were to break a part of a branch off the tree, then that would be a part of the tree, and that would give you a connection to the tree. Can you see then that this is a complicated matter, a non-trivial matter? Let's give us another example. Suppose we had a knife that had been used to commit a murder. What connections would that knife have?
It would have a connection to the killed and the killer, I would think.
Yeah, sounds reasonable to me. Go on.
I don't. It would maybe have a connection to what it did before it was used as a murder weapon, but I don't know.
Well, you've already mentioned the principle of a treasured item. So,
yeah,
if the knife was owned by someone,
it would then have that connection.
It may have a connection there. Can you see any other possible connections?
Its maker, if perhaps.
When you say its maker, you mean
the blacksmith? Yes. Mm-hmm. Well, at least maybe not the blacksmith itself, but rather the store it was bought from, or the place it was bought from.
Mm-hmm. Anything else?
I don't think so.
What about the person who touched it last?
I would assume that would be the murderer, but you are absolutely correct. That would be a separate connection.
What about the miner who dug the metal it's made from out of the ground?
I don't think he would be under the same theory that an apple is separate from the tree it came from. It would have been made from the ore rather than it is the ore. And therefore, the miner who made it would be connected to the ore, which is no longer in existence. Or at least as the ore.
These are you see how these are complicated topics.
Well, yes, I can.
On. Arcane connections do fade in time. So the person who held it last might have left an arcane connection, but it would very, very quickly fade because it's such a transient connection. It's possible to fix a connection to make it permanent, but that takes a lot of time, a whole season of work. That's because what you have to do, of course, is pluck away all the other possible connections to fix the one you want to fix.
Hey, Nathan.
Yeah.
I was supposed to take my mother out to eat tonight. She's visiting in town right now.
Sure.
Is there any chance I might be able to say Gareth
Yeah, that's
doesn't
fine.
come back from the kitchen?
Yeah, you do that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Catch you later.
Hey, Gareth. Solon.
So, all right.
Yes,
Well, I think we can wrap this at least particular scene up there at that point. So, yes, Maximus gives you a rambling, ongoing talk about various aspects of hermetic theory and debate. So, okay. Do you want to have a scene where you chat about yourselves after he's gone? Like, say, then maybe breakfast the next day.
Yeah, breakfast the next day means Caleb can actually be awake at that point.
Yeah. You sleep it off. Okay, you're right. You meet up for breakfast the next day.
Okay.
That was quite a long class.
Yeah, well, I missed the latter half of it because I was kind of asleep at the desk after that. What you did to me.
I
Nicely played.
apologize.
It was well played. Katami I could do without. Oh.
Yeah, it seems. I don't know. It certainly felt empowering.
It always just feels like it's just a means to an end to bully people. That it's why you should be deceptive in what arts you are interested in. Though we've been openly discussing it, why I vetoed Muto, obviously, because we've been discussing what arts we can cover, but beyond your Covenant Magi, you really do want to not advertise what your speciality is. It's kind of difficult though, because you're trying to develop library, you're trying to gather resources that probably,
Yeah, I mean, it's hard
you're
to
focused
discuss.
on your arts, but
It's hard to discuss what kind of books you need to develop when you're trading with people and not letting them know what you're studying.
But remember, that's where you as an individual represent a covenant. So it may not be your magic. It may be if Gareth was here, Gareth is a fantastic barter of goods, as we saw in York many years ago.
Yes.
He could barter for all of our benefits. So he wouldn't be revealing his particular arts. He would be buying them for the covenant benefit. And yes, that does say that. But from our conversations, we have quite a broad interest in arts among us all.
Yeah, from my understanding, there's some covens that focus on a specific set, but we seem to be generalists.
Normally, covenant libraries will develop a specialty, either because the magi that have the most interest in the libraries promote their own interests above their Sedalis, because the Sedalis don't pay enough attention to it, or again because all of the magi at the covenant do share at least part of it overlapping areas of expertise.
Yes.
I like being in the library. I take opportunity to go there where I can. I've studied under Gregory. I assist with scribal duties. I enjoy being in the library.
I know Gregory a bit. I've studied Latin from him, but other than that, not much else.
I actually didn't study. My Latin. I already knew Latin before I came here, thanks to my father.
I suppose that would make sense if you were. You said your father's a great scribe.
Yeah, he's a master scribe back in York. So before Matthias found me, that was going to be my destiny as well, I presume. So my father obviously had already begun tutoring me in the requirements, and funnily enough, Latin is really what is required as a scribe. So that's where my education began.
I found it odd learning Latin from a book when the two other languages I know I learned from living in them.
You studied it from a book predominantly, Gregory. Interesting. I've never been in any of his classes. I want to spend a little more time with Gregory before my time's up here, as my grammar and sentence structure is good enough to write on Hermetic subjects, but if I ever had to write about mundane affairs, I don't think my writing will be quite good enough. So I will revisit those and hopefully have a little more tuition before I leave. I hope.
Yeah, I'm interested in trying to get more information about where he came from. I heard he was a defrocked monk before he came here. I'm always interested in the church because being on their good side is a good thing. That's why we used to donate candles to them back where I came from. Them off my mother's bad side.
I tend to try to ignore the church as much as possible, hope they ignore me and pay, but be polite enough when I come across them.
I mean, there's many good people in the church, but there's also a lot of zealots.
It's not that. It's simply to echo some of yesterday's lectures. The church has such a overwhelming effect, overwhelming hindrance to what magics I know. I don't like to be around there too long.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I was interested in. So I heard, like, you know how supposedly God gives miracles to the Christian, right? Once in a while when they pray.
Yes.
But I've heard he also does it for the Saracens and other people like that. Isn't that a bit odd?
No, it's still the same God.
But they're fighting each other.
But okay, so what about maybe? Is it God, or could it be one? Could it be an angel? Could you tell the difference?
I suppose not.
No. And yeah, I'm not going to get into Maximianus's take on.
No, I understand. I just I thought about bringing it up, but I wasn't sure, and it just confuses me a little. But yeah, I suppose
it's interesting because again, I know a spell that can banish a demon from earthly realm, and Matthias has spoke to me about developing myself equivalents to deal with the magic and the fae.
Yeah.
But we've also spoke that we do not, though it is theoretically quite simple, we do not devise an equivalent spell for the Dominion, because that just could invite heaven's wrath against us, and that's something we want to avoid.
I suppose, yes. When you go into the churches and stuff, you can feel the weight of it on you.
Yes.
It's quite overwhelming.
Nonetheless, it was an interesting to meet another Magus, at least.
Yes, I mean, he's lived so long, he must have so many, so much power and stuff. But I did find the topic a little bit dreary at times.
Yeah, my philosophy is very minimal. I don't have a.
Isn't that what their house is known for? Philosophy, I suppose.
No, their house is more known for actual magic theory itself. That's
Okay.
Which, Matthias, I have a fairly good grounding in magic theory, but then interweaving Platonic philosophy and Aristotle's philosophical thinkings is a little more. It's a shame that it is beyond me, because I like to present myself to the mundane world as a scholar, and yet
Yes.
I find I barely know more than the generalizations of such things.
I just find it a bit almost. It almost feels like it's a. I don't know if I call it a waste of time, but like I don't feel like a lot of these philosophies will help us much.
I share that. Yeah, I prefer much more practical skills to philosophical and theoretical. Nah. But I thought Eric to be a well-rounded individual by the time we finish our apprenticeships. Caleb shrugs. Still looks tired. He was. Yeah. But Aminius, you seem to handle the philosophical conversations relatively well. You've studied that in more detail. You've put some time to study in that. Arminius?
Yep.
I'm not.
Oh, sorry, I wasn't paying attention. My brother just came in.
Okay, it's no worries, man. Don't worry. We were just commenting that Arminius, you seem to handle the philosophical discussions rather well yesterday. You studied
I
that quite
did.
a bit.
Out of character, I'm actually a little worried that I'm using too much like out of character knowledge.
Oh,
But
the basic is what's your philosophy score at on your character sheet, because that's what it
Well,
represents.
a lot of it was magic theory, to be fair.
Yeah. And we know his magic theory is 4.
just one. It's very low, hence why I'm a little worried.
Oh,
Well,
never mind.
I just quite enjoy the subject, so I might need to dump a bunch of stuff into there.
Well, Viditius Magi get bonuses for having high philosophy, so I presumed you had invested in it because you get bonuses for it. Viditius used philosophy more than any other magical line.
I actually didn't know that. Well then, I know where I'm gonna put lots of my XP in.
okay.
Caleb will continue eating breakfast. I think there's not too much more that he's got to say this morning, as he's still quite tired.
Yeah, I can't think of a huge amount more to discuss.
That was they were quite heavy conversations, Nath. So yeah, it's
I
kind
know. Well, I partly I felt that that's not a normal game session for me, but I thought we should at least try that kind of play once, because that's being an apprentice.
Yes.
Yeah, I quite enjoyed it.
Actual magic school.
Yeah, I think Gareth might have been the least interested.
So that was our effort at Hogwarts.
Yeah.
That was what they didn't show you in the films, an actual lesson.
Or the books. Thank you very much. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm just thinking if there's anything else to do. Do you guys want to wrap up there, or do you want to do something else?
What do you guys think?
I don't have much more sort of
To talk about
specifics. Yeah, I would. If I got the opportunity to speak to Maximilianus again when I'm more awake, I would sort of discuss with him about the hermetic books and stuff like that. But I don't know if Caleb would get another opportunity to actually speak to him or not.
I have to think about it. Okay. I'm just thinking about. I do have some other bits of plot I could run.
Yeah, I mean, if you're okay with Gareth not being here,
I'm very happy to continue. I have nothing else to do.
Okay, let me have a think for a minute.
Yeah, I'm gonna run and get a drink. I'll be right back.
Yeah, am I going to get a cup of tea while you have a quick think, Nath?
Yeah, you do that. Okay, this will take 2 minutes. Yeah. I'll go for tea as well. Sounds like a good option.
Well then, let me think. Well, they haven't actually done anything with my XP. I haven't cast any spells or anything. I might just like change my Herbomb to philosophy since I've been using so much of it. It would make not all of it, but go from like 55 to like 25 or something.
Okay, I'm back. Right. Okay. I'm just going to suggest, this particularly you, Daniel, because obviously you missed some sessions. Do you want to look over all the your plot briefing and stuff? So is there anything you want to ask the players about based on that?
I'm gonna look them over again. I don't have that many questions about it, to be honest. I would love to hear stories about it, like details. But you did the whole recap thing very clearly and very nicely, to be honest. It doesn't leave many questions.
Oh, okay. That's fine. If that's what you think, that's fine. Okay.
I am back. Is John back yet? Nathan, I probably would try and send that letter off to Scotland.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, blue book it. That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if no one's got else to say right now, we'll wrap up there for the day. So, thank you, players. Thank you, anyone watching. So, this has been another episode where we've for once actually trying to do delve into the depths of Hermetic Magic theory and realise just how philosophical and surreal some of it can get. And that's without even touching the Meganome.